Hey, welcome back to my channel. Yep, you're reading correctly, my vegan pizza recipe. Pizza is one of my favorite foods to eat and I'm going to show you how to make it with all the flavor. So let's go. So some stuff that you're going to need: self-raising flour, water, salt, agave syrup, and maybe baking powder. Just depends, you don't really need this. It's up to you. This is the brand of flour I'm using today, but I use all different types. You just need a bowl, a cup of flour. I think it's a cup, I don't know, I don't measure, I do eyeball, so just look at the size of the cup onto my hand and figure it out. So you're just gonna put your flour in there. This flour is not the same as normal self-raising flour. If you want a more chewy kind of pizza, then use normal self-raising flour, don't use organic, but I'm trying to be healthy, so you know. As I'm using organic flour, I'm going to use a teaspoon of baking powder. Baking powder kind of just holds everything together, kind of makes the mixture one, I guess. So normal flour, you wouldn't need baking powder. Well, I don't use it when I'm using normal self-raising flour. Add a little bit of salt to the mix and mix it all up really good. Then make a little hole in the middle. That's where your yeast or your water is going to go. Again, yeast is optional. I'm using it because I'm using organic flour and it's a lot more clean, so not everything sticks together very well. So I'm using yeast to puff it all up a little bit. I'm not going to explain how to use yeast. Read the sachet, people. Just put it in. If not, just use water, a cup of water, and just kind of eyeball it and into a perfect kind of dough, I guess. Again, this is optional, using olive oil. I'm using a little bit. If you're a high carb, low fat vegan, don't use it. If you like a bit of oil and a little bit of grease in your pizza, then use it. I only use a little bit and I just mix it all together. I add agave syrup to my crust because I like my crust a little bit sweet. You know, you gotta have a little bit of the sweet and the salty. It just tastes perfect, trust me on this one. And it browns it really nicely. Now using your hands, you're just going to knead the dough and knead it until everything is perfectly combined, and then we're going to cover it. You can use cling film, or like me, I didn't have any, so I used just a pot lid, which I wet a little bit, and then I cover it for 30 to 20 minutes. I do this so the dough can double in size and it gets perfectly plump. Then I put some extra flour on my board because we are going to knead the dough again with the flour. And yeah, just go ahead. So once you have kneaded that dough, pop it back into the pot and let it rest for 20 minutes. So now moving on to the sauce. I like a lot of sauce, so I use a tablespoon of tomato puree, some garlic powder, olive oil. Again, this can be skipped. I don't use oil all the time. Gonna put some mixed herbs up in there. Some agave syrup, of course. Some sea salt and some black pepper. And then you're just going to mix that all up. Honestly, I usually put nutritional yeast, but I didn't have any because it dropped. So I recommend nutritional yeast because it gives it that cheesy flavor. Then just add a little bit of water and mix it all together and it's perfect. Now for the toppings, and this is the experimental bit. You can put whatever you want on here. These are a few of my favorite options, and this is what I had in my fridge also. So I just cut up some courgettes, some mushrooms, some spring onion, added in a little bit of white onion, which I love, and a tomato. So now we are going to roll out our dough. So take out your dough, add a little bit of flour on the board, get your rolling pin and start rolling. The easiest way to make your shape is to make sure that the dough is in a circle before you start rolling, and then just do what I'm doing. Flip it over, roll, flip, roll. Pretty simple once you get the hang of it. Once you have your desired shape, poke some holes with a fork. This will cause the dough to cook evenly, I think. I learned it from an Italian restaurant. And now we start layering. So add your sauce, use a spoon and just do circular motions and leave the edges. Obviously your crust has to rise. And then start adding your toppings. Be creative. Do a face, do a love heart, a star. I don't know, do what you want. Just do it. I cut up some spinach also, and I added it on the top because, you know, the more greens the better, and I love spinach. As I always say, good for your hair, good for your skin. And then I added some jalapenos because I love everything spicy. So, and now it's time to cook for about 20 to 25 minutes and you're good to go. Once it is done, take it out, test it, see if it's cooked, and if it is, there you have it. Voila, you're welcome. So pizza dough will vary depending on what kind of flour you use. My food doesn't lack flavour in any sort of way, anyhow. Let me just make that clear. Vegan or not, you will love it. You don't need cheese. Who needs cheese? Who needs meat when you have something that looks like this? Come on now. So if you don't already know, I have a food page called Lua Naturel on Instagram. So if you're not following that, go ahead and follow that page. Please comment on any of the pictures that I upload. I upload my food, what I eat daily, and whichever picture gets the most comments for a recipe, I will do that for you. We can make this weekly. So go ahead and do that. And if this works, then this can be a weekly thing. So I hope you enjoyed that video and I shall see you in my next one. Later. Mwah.